Hi, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about Puerto Rican genealogy and family history. Today, we will be discussing some tips and tricks on how to break down walls. And what do we mean when we say that we've reached a wall? Well, basically, what that means is that the trail has gone cold. Whether it's a digital trail or a paper trail, it means that I really can't find anything beyond this point. Now, there can be a lot of different reasons why we hit walls. First, it could be just an oral tradition in your family where there wasn't a lot of paper documents left. So this happens a lot with other countries where oral tradition is more common than the written word. So that could be one of the reasons. The other reason it could be that the documents exist, but they haven't been uploaded, so they're not digitally available, so then you have to go physically and do the search. Another reason it could be is that they are digitally uploaded but they're not indexed, which means that the document exists and it is somewhere in the digital sphere, but nobody has gone in and indexed it, so it's really hard to search. You really can't search based on keywords like names or dates. Another possibility is that there was a fire or a flood and the documents got completely destroyed and no longer exist. Now, let's say that the documents do exist, but you're just having a really hard time finding them. That happens all the time. So one of the things you can do is search instead of vertically, horizontally. So search other family members like aunts, uncles, all of the kids, the cousins, etc. That has happened to me before where I really haven't found, let's say, a marriage certificate from one of my direct ancestors, but a great 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 aunt does have her birth certificate or marriage certificate, and in those documents there are details and information that directly impact my research. Something else you can do, and that's actually really important in Puerto Rican family genealogy, is look for the neighbors. It's really common in Puerto Rico to have the families all living next to each other. So in a certain area of town, you may have the same 6 last names that are just recycled over and over in different orders. And they probably all are family or are related in some type of way. So sometimes when you can't find that one ancestor you're looking for in that household that they're supposed to be in, sometimes they're living with a neighbor that is actually their aunt or uncle. Another good tip I can give you is to try different spellings, different dates, different locations for the subjects that you are researching. There's a lot of errors when it comes to, number one, dates, because most people prior to, I would say, maybe the 1940s, 1930s were illiterate in Puerto Rico. So they didn't even know their own birthdays. They sometimes didn't know how to spell out their names. A lot of census takers just went off of like what sounded like it. So some vowels were interchanged. Sometimes the order of the last names are changed, like my last names are Rivera Sanchez, but maybe you could have found me as Sanchez Rivera. So you could try a lot of different orders and playing with spellings. Sometimes the indexing is really, really, really horrible. There's a lot of people that don't speak Spanish that are indexing these records for our family members and have no idea what they're looking at because they don't know how to speak Spanish or spell things out. So sometimes we have to get really creative. Another tip for your digital research is try to hit online groups. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there, forums, discussion boards. Just try to go, and a lot of people that do this type of hobby or work, they're really easy to talk to, and they're very willing to help. Now, an in-person tip I can give you is first of all, go in person. Go to the churches, go to the location where those records are kept. Get in touch with local genealogical societies. In Puerto Rico, you have the Sociedad Puertorriqueña de Genealogía, and that is in Old San Juan, and they have amazing records. They have a really great collection. And some of the towns have their own genealogical societies as well, or even people that are known in the town to be the keepers of history and records. So here's another tip that a lot of people don't think of, and think about the changes in borders. I have a video in my channel about the different names of towns in Puerto Rico, how the names have changed. For example, San Mateo de Cangrejos is what now is Santurce and part of Atogrey. So if you're looking for somebody in Atogrey, back to a certain date, that name didn't exist. It was San Mateo de Cangrejos. So try different borders. For example, Morovis used to be part of Manatí. Barceloneta used to be part of Manatí. So if your ancestors lived in a time where these towns were part of another town, that's a huge issue that you're going to be facing. Another thing is the naming practices. For those of you who are not familiar with Puerto Rican genealogy, the naming practices for Hispanic names have the paternal and the maternal last names, and throughout the years for women, we've had the paternal last name and then the husband's last name. So for example, my husband's first last name is Rodriguez, so in some records I would have been written down as Adriana Rivera de Rodriguez instead of Adriana Rivera Sanchez, which is my full name. And when you feel like you've done everything and you're just there's nothing to be done, give it time, because records continue to be indexed as time goes by. The new censuses come up. We're getting ready to have the 1950 census, which is really exciting. So sometimes, just let it rest, come back in 6 months, a year, and you have, some new information that you didn't have before. Another thing that you can do is go over the records again. Go over them a second and a third time. Sometimes you miss something. You miss little nuggets, like the first time, like when you're watching a movie, and the second time, oh, I didn't notice that the first time. Another thing is ask somebody to go over them for you. Maybe another set of eyes can pick up something that you didn't pick up. So those are a few tips for busting through walls, getting over dead ends. I hope that they can help you out. Let me know if you have any questions on the comment section. I'm very proactive with my comments. I usually answer all of them, if not most of them. And don't forget to subscribe, and I hope that you were able to learn something about Puerto Rican genealogy and family history with this video. Thank you.